Yes, guys, I think we are now live. Welcome to the Fantasy Football Fix Game Week 19 live stream. I do apologise for the delay getting this one going. I have been so good recently with not having technology play up, but lo and behold, the day that I want it all to run smoothly, technology bites me in the bum. So thank you so much to those that have stuck around for the delay. I do apologise. This is going to be a speedy question and answer live stream with us. We only have 45 minutes until the deadline. We really don't want to be missing this deadline, guys, for Game Week 19. So first and foremost, if you have stuck around, thank you so much. Make sure you do drop a like on the stream. I would obviously massively appreciate that. But let's get straight into the comments. As I can see, there are plenty in there. I'm going to reveal my team as I have confirmed my transfers. And we're going to be discussing all projected points going forward. So get them in the questions, guys. In the comment section. Let's go. Rio, hi Nacho. Is Mitrovic or Havertz a better captaincy pick? Well, Rio, this is a really interesting shout. I think right now, there's a lot of deliberation whether to go for Mitrovic or Haaland as a single game weeker. I personally, spoiler alert, think that Mitrovic is a better captaincy pick than Haaland. Yes, Haaland could destroy Chelsea after seeing what Chelsea done against Nottingham Forest, making them look like Barcelona. But for me, I think Mitrovic just favours it right now on penalties, has that double game week. I view Chelsea as actually a favourable fixture for Fulham, not a bad fixture. And I also think that the yellow card is one that we just need to accept is always going to be at the back of our minds, but not enough of a reason for us not to captain Mitrovic. Logan, Mitrovic or Haaland for captain? Logan, hopefully that did cover you off. And again, it is worth noting as well, with the situation with Haaland, I'm sat here perfectly comfortable knowing that if Haaland scores a hat-trick, he destroys my rank. You just need to also have that mindset as well. And if that was to happen, you put your hands up and accept that's the risk you are willing to take with captaincy against Haaland. That's the mindset you need. Jono, thanks for the stream. Hope you're well. Jono, I'm doing very well. I do apologise once again for being delayed on this one here. Luke, and hope you're doing well as well. Luke, is any of your streams on Mindsets waiting? Hopefully you're on here, Luke. Hey, Nacho, Happy New Year, mate. Thanks for the great content. Kepa, Trippier, Cancelo, Cucurella, Rashford, Andreas Sala, Martinelli, Haaland, Mitro, Darwin. Only one sub. Make a change or stick. 10, 11. I'm just counting them up there. I mean, that team's solid. I don't know what's on your bench, but I'd be more than happy to roll out that team this week. I think that's a solid team. Luke, what's your transfer plan whilst we wait? I will reveal those in a I think you guys are chatting amongst yourselves. I do apologise. So I'm trying to catch up on here, guys, on the chat. I do apologise. It's all 100 miles an hour. Luke saying, I'm a little fan, so I hope I would like him to score. However, I just transferred him out. Darwin Nketiah, Game Week 19. Look, Arsenal right now with the better attack, but the numbers that Darwin are posting right now are ridiculous. So I'm always going to be in the camp of Darwin. And the question to you is, who are you selling these players to go to? If I was buying one right now, I think I still favour Darwin Núñez, but that could be a little bit of a bias in me. Elle saying start White or Trippier. So this one I've been flip-flopping about for so long in regards to. So this is the way I'm viewing it. I think Ben White has the higher potential for a clean sheet, but with Trippier, we know the attacking potential and also an absolute ridiculous bonus point magnet, as well as Newcastle being a fantastic defensive team. So I favour Trippier, spoiler alert, but I do think Ben White is still a fantastic option for you to have. I just think the ownership of Trippier, the way that he's performing and the way that his game just caters towards FPL bonus points has just made me go in the favour of Trippier, but honestly, incredibly tough between the two on that one there. Start Foden or Almiron. Okay, so this one's so tough because naturally I would always go for Foden over Almiron with the fixtures that they have. But of course, we don't know the game time of either of these players. So look, I probably would say Almiron, unfortunately. I think you're in a situation where if you start Almiron, you could get burnt quite quickly if Foden starts and does really well. But likewise, do you want 20 minutes of Foden or 90 minutes of Almiron? I think the answer is going to be Almiron in this situation. But look, Foden's a real frustrating asset for you to own. Who do I captain? Captaincy-wise, I think there's a few fantastic options available. I've got Mitrovic as number one, but that is just because of that double game week that we do have. So, outside of Mitrovic, I think Haaland is the obvious single game week option. I'm a Chelsea fan, And I absolutely despise what I'm seeing from Chelsea right now from both a defensive and an attacking perspective. So I cannot recommend any Chelsea player right now as a captaincy. You might be a little bit more bullish on them than I am, but I really just don't have it in me to go for anyone down that route. Outside of those players, I think Rashford is a brilliant single game week player as well. But for me, I'm going for Mitrovic and praying that he scores at least one goal. And if it has to be against my beloved Chelsea, then so be it. Who's still in the overall cup? Lay saying, guys, let Lay know in the chat there who is still in the cup. Nyla H is saying, Captain Rashford, a mad idea. No, I think that's a decent idea. I think naturally I'm always going to favour Mitrovic because of that double game week. But the way that Man United are playing right now, even though they didn't blow Wolves out of the water, I think Wolves are a tough cookie with this new manager in charge. Rashford, I think, is going to go straight back into that team. It seems like he's served his disciplinary. He's in the clear now. I think Rashford is a brilliant option. You want to pick those form players, and I think he's one of the best in the league as we speak. Luke, I have Kepa, Trippier, Cancelo, Wan-Bissaka, Foden, Martinelli, Andreas, Rashford, Kane. 1 free transfer, 2 million in the bank. Do I roll or go for Sterling for Foden? Okay, well, firstly, I'm not a big fan of Sterling. You might be a bit more bullish than I am, but I really do not recommend Sterling as an FPL option. I think he's going to be just tricky to own at that price point. So, I like your team. I'm seeing a few problems later down the line, though. For example, Wan-Bissaka in your team, once Dalot returns, could be a transfer waiting to happen. I like your starting lineup. You've got the investment in the Man United defence for this week. Foden, of course, is a problem in your team. I do understand that. So, going for another Man United defender isn't an option in your team, so that's not an obvious James replacement for you. So I think you have two options here. You either do James to somebody like a Ben White, get yourself some Arsenal investment, even though that's a bit counterintuitive because of obviously the start that you have Trippier starting in your team. So in your situation, I would always be tempted to roll your free transfer, give yourself 2 free transfers in the squad, and then flexibility whether you need to get rid of Wan-Bissaka and then target a double game weaker later down the line. Andreas or Rashford, I think if you start one, I would ask you need to start both. That's the way I'm looking at it right now. Who are the other players that you're starting that isn't in your team? Guys, I'm going to throw on my team reveal, but it's a little bit of a caveat here because it isn't my team reveal either. Unfortunately, because of the way that all the deadlines happen, we had to create my team in advance, and my team isn't this. So look, I do apologise. It's probably going to be a bit more confusing than worthwhile. So I'm going to put it on the screen, but I'm conscious that it probably is just going to cause issues here. So let's take a look. Let's get it up for you. Right, guys. So here is my team, but it isn't my team. I do apologize. So super confusing. I'm probably just going to take it off the screen because I knew this would happen. Shout out to Finn, who does the graphics, for doing it in such speedy time. And I do apologize, Finn, if you are watching, but this isn't my team at all. So this is going to be a bit confusing, guys. So look, for those that are in the chat right now, keep these ears open because I'm going to tell you exactly my team and it isn't what's on screen. Right, so here is my team lineup for you, and I've got it in front of me on the old telephone device. Kepa remains in goal. I've gone for a back three of Trippier, so he's come off the bench on the screen that you see there. Luke Shaw, I have brought him in. I have sold Reece James to bring in Luke Shaw. Slight reasoning behind that one. First and foremost, I think his ownership is still low enough to capitalise on the potential clean sheet for Man United. At my rank, it is 21%. And I'm not at a rank that I'm happy with. So I feel like Shaw for this week is an opportunity for me to climb the ranks a little bit more. Means that I have benched Ben White, and it means that I'm going against the Arsenal clean sheet, which could be very, very counter what I said about the Shaw situation, but it's a risk I'm willing to take. And I have decided to start Cancelo as well. I believe Cancelo, if I'm going to have a good rank this week, is the absolute centre of all good things. If we can get a situation where Cancelo starts, Man City run riot, and Cancelo picks up a goal and assist, oh my days, the rank is going to fly. And I'm praying that variance is on my side this week because I feel like Cancelo is the man that is going to turn it for me. And again, for those that have jumped into the stream, just want to reiterate, this isn't my team on screen. I'm calling out my team right now as we speak, as we've had some big changes to the team. Midfield 4, I believe, has actually stayed the same. Andreas, Rashford, Salah and Martinelli. The only difference is the vice captaincy has come off Mo Salah and it has gone on to Erling Haaland. Darwin stays in the team, but I have sold Martial to bring in Mitrovic, and I have put the captaincy on Mitrovic. A lot of discussion about the best captaincy option this week, and I still believe it is Mitrovic. Haaland absolutely could score a hat-trick against Chelsea. I have absolutely no doubts about it, but I want to be aggressive and go for the player that has the highest ceiling based on expected minutes, and rightly so, that answer is Mitrovic. Now, of course, if he was to pick up a yellow card and then he becomes suspended for the Chelsea game, that is going to cause all sorts of issues and we will cry ourselves to sleep that night. But the same argument goes for what if Haaland got a red card? What if this? What if that? Sometimes we just need to take that slight risk, and that is going to be on Mitrovic, praying that he doesn't get that other yellow card. That means that my bench is going to be Ward, Benjamin White, Almiron and Patterson. So the big problem here, I'm going against the Arsenal clean sheet. I'm hoping Newcastle can nick a goal and pray that Man United can rack up a clean sheet against a blunt Bournemouth attack. Again, guys, please take that with a pinch of salt what you see on the screen there. I have called out my team. I will just reiterate it and then we'll go back to the questions. Kepa in goal. A back three of Trippier, Luke Shaw and Cancelo. Midfield four of Salah, Andreas Pereira, Rashford and Martinelli. And a front three of Mitrovic, Darwin and Haaland. Captaincy on Mitrovic, vice captaincy on Haaland. Let's get back to the comments. We have a coffee as well. Andreas or Odegaard, got to start both. Honestly, you have to find a way to start both here. Mohammed, start Martinelli and bench Foden, or buy Mount for Foden for a -4 and bench Martinelli. No, I think you're asking for trouble there with the -4. I would just stick to what your original plan was. Logan, which team has the best short-term fixtures? I'm glad you asked, Logan. I'm glad you asked, because here comes the fixture difficulty ranking. Right, guys, so here you have the fixture difficulty ranking based on both attack and defense that you can see on your screens there. I hope that the quality is good enough. Again, a massive shout out to Finn. Now, of course, things we need to consider here. FA Cup results will dictate which double game weeks we get, both in game week 20 and in game weeks 21. So just be cautious of that one. And that is a reason why we need to be a little bit hesitant about our transfers in a way, because the FPL landscape can change going forward. But I'm going to leave that on screen for you there because there's a lot of information to digest and probably not enough time for me to run through every single good team to target, because naturally we only have half an hour until the deadline and I want to make sure I answer all of your questions between now and then. So look, I don't want to be causing any problems there. Lay, Andreas or Tony? I have both, but I've got a bench one. Okay, so look, I think I probably would say benching Tony is the right move here. We still don't know if he's available, and Andreas Pereira has that double game week. That reason being, I think the option has to be starting Andreas Pereira, and I'm conscious that my screen's a little bit out there, so let me just sort that out. Hopefully that's a little bit better. Okay, start Darwin or Nketiah. Once again, I would ask who the rest of your team is, because I think starting both of those is probably the ideal move. Nishad, do you think it's worth replacing Kane with Havertz? What do you think the team's chances would be with Havertz leading the line? And I'm going to say poor. Haven't seen enough from Chelsea offensively for you to justify that move. And you can see on the fixtures in front of me on the screen, if you look at Spurs, they have an away fixture against Crystal Palace, which I don't think is necessarily terrible. And then they have also got a double game week against Arsenal and Man City, followed by Fulham in game week 21. Now, of course, Arsenal and Man City, one of the best defences in the league. However, I think that's enough of a reason for you to hold Kane. He's a penalty away or an open play goal from you racking up in game week 20 with that double. I'm not going to read out the question, the account that asked this, a little bit rude, but having to bench Martinelli this week, painful. Yes, I think there are going to be a lot of bench points this week, in particular from the likes of Arsenal defenders or even Trippier, but sometimes it just happens in these weeks where players that are always your bench players, like Andreas Pereira, step up and have the fantastic fixture with doubles. Start Martinelli or Trossard. Trippier is in my 11. I think if I was back in one right now, and just to remind myself who Brighton have got this week Everton, I'd probably go for Martinelli personally. Luke staying start Foden or Trossard. Trossard came off early in their previous game. I wasn't too impressed. I would almost go for Foden and pray that he starts. Start Almiron and Martial. I think if you have a choice between the two, you start Martial. TSS is saying, I've got Tony for 7 and he's now 7.5. Is it worth to swap him for Mitrovic now? Okay, so we know that obviously with the Tony situation that he is currently being investigated for a betting scandal. That means that he could have no games for the rest of the year if he gets found guilty. I think Tony to Mitrovic is a wise move personally, but if he gets confirmed fit for this game week, then look, he could definitely do well, but I personally think selling to Mitrovic is the right move. Start Darwin or Nketiah. Again, I'll try and find a way to start both. Do I start Digne over Trippier? Now, Digne over Trippier, I do think is a wise move. They have a very, very good fixture against Wolves at home, who are very blunt in attack. The one thing I would say is under Gerrard, the fullbacks were a lot more aggressive and a lot more attacking, as they played very much a diamond system with the fullbacks offering the width. Under Unai Emery, you've probably seen it's very much about defence first and allowing their front four with the 2 attackers and the 2 wide men to be that kind of impetus in the attack. So with Digne, I think you're relying on set pieces rather than open play potential, but they look very good for the clean sheet, and that's why I think Digne is a good pick this week. Jono, you're definitely my favourite FPL content creator, so thanks for all the advice and hard work you put in. Jono, very much appreciate that. Thank you very much. And I massively have to thank you all for tuning in regularly to these streams. I'm conscious that the FPL landscape is so busy and so much information out there. So for you to spend even 5 minutes of your deadline stream with me is really much appreciated. So I'm thankful for that one. Dean says, sell Martial or Wilson to bring in Mitrovic. Well, I really don't know the status of Wilson. It has to be said. I'm just looking and you can see it on the screen here. The fixtures coming up for Newcastle are as follows. Sorry, got itchy nose here. Arsenal, Fulham and Crystal Palace. I would expect Wilson to be back for that Fulham game. Now, if you're looking to potentially sell Martial, he will have a potential double game week in 20 if the FA Cup games go his way. Even still, if he had that double game week, he is still going to be facing against tricky opposition in City and Arsenal. So because of that, I think you target this game week in isolation. And because of that, I think you probably sell Wilson and then you look to maybe move Martial out the following game week. Rashford, Martinelli or Mount, pick 2. Have to start Rashford and you have to start Mount. That's kind of the way it is with those two. Who do I bench, Saka or Martinelli? I would bench Martinelli because Saka is on penalties and that is enough of a reason for you to go that direction. Marvel Pool saying Captain Mitrovic or Haaland. This again is all about personal preference for your risk appetite. Now, we have to remember that Mitrovic is 1 yellow card away from suspension, so he could miss the second game of his double, but I personally think that it is enough of a risk to take with Mitrovic and go against Haaland. Now, the one thing you need to understand, and of course this is when it comes down to risk appetite, is Haaland scoring a hat-trick and Mitrovic blanking will decimate your rank, and that is just something you need to make sure you consider with your decisions going forward. Cheek, so I just saw your comment there in regards to the maximum resolution of this live stream is only as 360p on my end. So could someone else just kind of confirm whether they're having issues with the quality of the live stream? That'd be much appreciated if you could. Just a quick one just to let me know if there is any sort of problems than usual when you are tuning in, just so we can help out for future reference as well. I know going forward maybe I need to adjust some of the settings. I'm just looking at it on my phone as well just to make sure. Very weird looking at myself on the screen. Let's have a look here. Okay, yes, I do appreciate that. That is probably not the best setting right now, is it? Okay, yes, I think a lot of people are struggling right now with this screen. So what I'm going to do is, I think this is probably a bad resolution here. So I'm going to put the projected points up because these are probably a little bit easier for you to read and hopefully a bit more quality on the screen and adds a bit more value to you. Okay, I'll try and pick up where I was a minute. Hi mate, this is my team. Kepa, Cancelo, Trippier, Shaw, Foden, Rashford, Odegaard, Andreas, Mitrovic, Haaland, Kane. Do I start Saliba over one of them? I think your team is pretty solid, actually. I think natural deliberation is going to be, are you happy or content if Cancelo gets appearance points off the bench? I personally am happy to take that risk. So it's all about your risk appetite. And then it comes down to probably the argument that Arsenal are probably higher favourites for a clean sheet, but Trippier's higher favourite for attack and return / bonus points. So because of that, I think I'd probably bench Saliba. The only other thing I would consider is potentially benching Foden if you're worried about his game time. Was thinking about benching Tony too. Thanks, make no worries at all. Martial or Martinelli, I would try and start both if I was you. If you really are looking to bench one, I think the answer is going to be Martinelli in that situation. Nairobi saying Rodrigo or Rashford. Has to be Rashford. Alice saying, who is captain, please? I have Salah, Haaland, Mitrovic and Mount. Okay, so again, it all comes down to a risk appetite. I'm personally happy to go against Haaland. That's why I'm going for Mitrovic personally. And Mason Mount I also think is an okay option, but I'm really not happy with the Chelsea attack. So I'm not necessarily anticipating big returns from Mason Mount. And he did come off early in the game against Nottingham Forest when they weren't winning the game. So I'd probably have Mitrovic number 1, Haaland number 2. Cheekster, Happy New Year, FPL Nacho. Cheekster, hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for tuning in once again. Barmy always saying Saka or Odegaard. If I was buying right now, I would go Odegaard. Luke Grayson, do I look to transfer Foden out for a Chelsea asset? Double game week or roll it, then get back Foden in the City's double? Personally, if I was on Foden right now, I'd probably just stick. I really am not happy with the Chelsea midfielders, and I think it'd be almost a waste of your transfer to do it. If you really want to double down on the double game week, then probably going to Mason Mount is the wise move if you are bullish on them. I'm free hitting this week. Which 3 players who aren't on the double game week should I certainly have in my team? Okay, so first and foremost, if you pulled the trigger on your free hit, then I really hope it does pay off for you. I think you can't look past the Man United fixture. I think you're going to need a triple up, and I probably would favour Luke Shaw, Rashford, and either Bruno Fernandes, depending on your budget available, or Martial. Now, looking at the rest of the fixtures, I'm just going to get them up on screen. I'm conscious that they're not the best for you guys resolution-wise, but I'm just going to kind of have a little look myself. Fixtures that I would favour right now. Naturally, Leicester, could you bring in a player, an offensive player for that Fulham game? Potentially, that is an option. Southampton, I can't get excited about anyone in that system right now. Man United feels like the fixture that you really need to double down, or in this sense, triple up on. So I think Luke Shaw in defence, I think Rashford, and if you have the budget available, Bruno Fernandes. If you don't, Martial up front. Otherwise, outside of that, I think you could go for a nice differential in Aston Villa with the likes of Watkins, for example, if you want to go down that route. Hi, Botman or Castagne? I'd probably go Castagne this week if I was in the market for one to start. Salah or De Bruyne? It's a tricky one now because I would argue Man City have the tougher fixture, even though I really am not a big fan of Chelsea as a fixture. I think that's an easy game for Man City, honestly. But De Bruyne has the double in game week 20, which is really, really worth considering. So if you have De Bruyne, I would keep. If you have Salah, I wouldn't sell this week, but you could consider selling the following week. Cancelo or Bueno? I would start Cancelo with the 2. Keep or sell Trossard? I think you need to keep right now because there's a potential double game week for Brighton and you're going to want him straight back. I know he's been very frustrating, but if the FA Cup results go the way we think they could do, there could be a double on the cards for Brighton. That's quite favourable. Mark A. finished 30k last year on 1.2 mil right now. Rashford or Haaland captaincy? I think Haaland is going to be your natural defensive captaincy option. Rashford, the form pick, but obviously could be risky if he doesn't do well. All about your risk appetite. I probably would still go for Haaland captaincy though. Luke saying replacements of Wan-Bissaka after game week 19. Okay, so that's going to be all about the fixtures coming up from game week 20 and beyond. And that's going to be quite interesting to know what defenders are looking like the best picks. I'm just going to, for myself, get the fixtures up because the big thing we need to remember is the game weeks will change once the FA Cup happens because some double game weeks will get jumped into the fixture list. So I think straight away, getting yourself an Arsenal defensive coverage is probably a priority. And if you only have one, I think that's probably enough because the attackers are offering so much value. You don't want to double down on the defense and not be able to have an option to have 2 attackers. Outside of that, though, I think if you haven't got a Man City coverage, it'll probably be time to get on them with 2 double game weeks in 20 and 23. So, yes, very difficult to answer that right now. And the main reason being is because the landscape is going to change very, very quickly. Which teams have best 6 to 7 game weeks? Well, based on our fixture ticket, I'm not going to put the one up on screen because the resolution's not the best right now. But let me just put this up a minute. So, between game weeks 20 and 24, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 game weeks. Now, we need to remember, as I said, that once the FA Cup has happened, there are going to be changes to the fixture ticket when double game weeks get added in. But just to read them off right now, Man City are top because they have a double in 20 and a double in 23. It is worth noting. Arsenal second best with the fixtures, followed by Brentford, then Nottingham Forest, and then Spurs. So, no surprises here. You go for the good teams. City and Arsenal, it's not like they've got a bad fixture swing. Their assets are not only good right now, but they'll become better over the long term. So if you have your triple up, you keep your triple up. There's no reason to move away from these top teams. And there's still value picks available in these teams. And again, guys, I didn't really mention this on screen here. You can see the potential projected points for players in game week 19. They've slightly adjusted a little bit, but the order of them pretty much sticks the same. So make sure you do check them out if it does help your decision making going forward. Give me 2 seconds, guys. I do apologize. I'm just going to have to take my camera off because it's lagging a little bit. I will be literally super quick while I come back on. So it's still running the live stream, don't worry. And guys, I am still here. I do apologize. I'm just trying to make sure this is all sorted. Yes, guys, I think we're back. Are we good? Sorry, guys, about that delay. I was just trying to sort out the technical bits. Can you just literally put yes, no, if you can hear me okay? Let's see if I'm back. I should be back. Hello, hello, hello. Should be back, guys. Apologies for that. Right, let's get some more questions answered. I'm thinking about bringing in Rodrigo for Foden. Do you think it's a good idea? Don't mind Rodrigo at all. I do think that a little bit difficult to predict his points going forward, but it's okay. It's okay. I still prefer Saka, though, absolutely, if you're doing a sideways move. Again, apologies, guys, for that delay there. I just had to sort my camera out. It was absolutely nightmare. I didn't want me just breathing in the mic while it was quiet. Right. What else we got, guys? Play Trippier or Pero. Usually a no-brainer, but the fixtures make it legitimate question this week. Pero, I believe, got benched last week. I need to double-check that one. So I think probably I would go for Trippier of the two as we speak. James, in my free hit team, I've got De Gea, Shaw, Trent, Robinson. If that's Robertson, I would remove him. If Robinson, then I don't mind it. Mount, Sterling, Rashford, Andreas, Vardy, Havertz, Mitrovic. What moves would you make? Look, as I mentioned, I think you've got your investment in the Man United, which is fantastic. I'm not bullish on the attack, on the Chelsea attack, so I wouldn't be going double up on them personally. But I like the rest. Vardy, a big differential. I think you have to go Haaland. I know that you're trying to go against him a little bit, but I think Haaland needs to come into this team at the expense of probably Jamie Vardy, to be honest with you. If you're at a rank that you're not happy with and you want to go real differential, then I understand the decision to go for that. But no Haaland just feels a little bit too risky. Mitrovic captaincy choice for Martial for a -4 and Rashford or Martinelli on the bench. First and foremost, I probably wouldn't do Martial to Mitrovic for a -4. I don't think that's going to pay dividends for you. And Rashford or Martinelli on the bench, I'll try and find a way to start both. If you have to pick one, I would bench Martinelli. Madfootmaster saying, do you start Digne over Trippier? I personally would start Digne over Trippier. I think it's a fantastic fixture for Aston Villa. Start Ward or Pope? I think based on our projected points, Ward is probably the pick over Pope. I would just get them up for you now, just to double check on our one here. And guys, can I just remind you as well, if you haven't already, make sure you do check out the link in the bio. We have free Fantasy Football Fix. Sorry, I'm just getting this up a minute. Fantasy Football Fix trial between now and Game Week 21 deadline. Now, if you have taken a free trial Fantasy Football Fix in the past, then you are not eligible to it. But if you haven't taken a free trial in the past, I massively urge you getting involved with it. You get free access to the entire Fantasy Football Fix site with everything available. It is unbelievable the things that we have to offer you in regards to the site. Honestly, it is one of those that I've just used all the time. Now, just remember, if you've done a free trial in the past, it's not eligible to you. If you haven't already, you've got to get involved in it. One thing I will say is, just make sure if you don't want to carry on the membership afterwards, after the free trial, you need to cancel it before the Game Week 21 deadline. But with this FA Cup period coming up, great time for you just to mingle on the site, check out the additional bits. It's really going to help you out there. So you asked about starting Ward or Pope. Sorry, my mind just absolutely drifted there. Starting this week for goalkeepers. So Pope is projected to score 2.9. Ward 3.9. So answer to that one would be going for Ward if you were going off of the Fantasy Football Fix algorithm. And I probably would agree with it as well. Would you switch Foden for another Man City asset? If you could go Kevin De Bruyne, I don't mind it. Otherwise, I don't feel confident in any of their game times to sit here and tell you to go for another one. Cresswell, Patterson or Bueno, or worth a -4 for Diop? No, I wouldn't go for a -4. If I had to pick one of those, I probably would go for Patterson if I had to pick one of those options. Nigel Fernandez, goalkeeper De Gea, Shah, Diop, Trippier, Mount, Andreas. Don't know who that is captain. It's kind of gone weird. Maybe Andreas captain, Bruno, Almiron, Martinelli, Kane, Haaland. Yeah, okay, so I like the team. I think it's a solid team. The only thing I would say, I personally would probably take the punt and go for Ben White over Fabian Schär. I prefer Arsenal for the clean sheet. The only reason I'm picking Trippier over Ben White is because of the bonus point and creative potential of Trippier. Otherwise, it's a solid team. I would love for you to get Cancelo into that team personally. But obviously, if you're not favourable for his game time, then I understand it. I'm thinking of taking Foden out for Mount this week. After this game week, I might get Foden back in for the City double game week and then play Patterson for game week 20 over Wan-Bissaka and then transfer out Wan-Bissaka for Ben White. Thoughts, if you understand it? No, I absolutely understand that. You're probably worried about the Foden game time, and rightly so. And I think if you sell Foden, you just have to accept that if he starts and scores, it's part and parcel with having a Man City asset. Mount, I will say, did come off early against Nottingham Forest, so do not be surprised if Mount's minutes is even a little bit managed or dropped in certain aspects. I expect him to start. Would he play 180 minutes? I would question that. So, I like the move because you are arguably getting guaranteed minutes in Mount, or at least 120 minutes total, compared to Foden's realistically, 60, 70 minutes tops. So I like the move, yes. Just remember, Chelsea attacking wise, pretty crap. That's the only thing I'm going to say. Andreas or Rodrigo for this game week? Has to be Andreas. Lisa, hey, I've got 2 free transfers already done. Shaw to James to Shaw. Would you also do Martial and Mitrovic? Okay, so Lisa, I had your exact same position and I decided to do both those moves. I think there's massive value in you having 2 free transfers for game week 20 because after the FA Cup, we will know the landscape going forward for the fixtures, which means that you can capitalise on teams that have double game weeks. But for my team personally, I just wanted to get that ownership in the Man United defence, and I felt Mitrovic was the only captaincy that I could swing against Haaland, and I needed that slight little bit of spice in my team to go against it with the rank that I'm at. So if you are happy with selling Martial at home to Bournemouth, which I become content with, I accept if Martial gets a brace. I understand that that is possible because he's playing one of the worst defences in the league. but I just want 180 minutes of Mitrovic versus 90, maybe 60 of Martial. TSS, should I sell Tony? Got him for 7 and get Mitro. Tony has beautiful fixtures next. He does, but he has a trial date, I believe, in a couple of days' time. And it could be a situation where Tony is then suspended for the rest of the season, pending what the result is. Now, of course, Brentford coming up, have Liverpool at home, then Bournemouth, Leeds, Southampton. They look brilliant, but we could get a situation where Tony is banned and we don't even know the current injury status of Tony. Maybe it has come out already, which, again, I don't know if it has just because I've been on here. I haven't seen anything in regards to it. So, look, I probably am going to say, let me just refresh my memory a minute. Sorry, my mindset is terrible when I'm jumping between things. I would personally sell. I personally would. Jay, who should I change James to? Digne, Castagne, Shaw, or me? Look, I love Digne as a pick. I think he's a real differential, but I went for Shaw if that helps, just because he has a great fixture this week and a potential double in game week 20. How would you line up my team if you could fit White and Cancelo in? Nigel, I'd probably, if I was in a situation where I wanted to play White and Cancelo, I probably would then have Diop starting with Shah on the bench. I don't know if that's Bruno Gomes or Bruno Fernandes. If it's Bruno Fernandes, then you definitely start him. Then I'd probably bench Almiron because I'm bullish on the Arsenal defence. So I'd probably bench Shah and I would bench Almiron and just accept that maybe Newcastle aren't going to have it all their way this week. But again, this comes down to everybody. If you're in a position right now, because you're asking the opinions of myself, like, I really want you guys to make sure you go with your gut feelings. So sometimes I might offer some advice and it just isn't what you kind of wanted to hear. And remember, things I say definitely aren't right all the time. So if you're sat there right now and you're in a position to think to yourself, nah, you know what? I'm a little bit kind of against what you said there. I would much rather you guys go with your gut, because I know a lot of people that kind of say to themselves, yeah, I didn't really agree with you, but I followed through with it. Sometimes you really just need to go with what works for you. And I think in that situation, it probably would be going for your gut in that situation there. So guys, I'm just checking if there's any more information out there. Remember, we have 10 minutes until the deadline, so make sure you are locked in with any potential moves that you have done or are planning on doing. I really don't want you guys to be caught up with anything going forward. Please do not be at risk of missing the deadline. That would be an absolute disaster if that was to happen. I'm just checking if there's any more information coming up. And I'm also, like I always tell you guys, check your team just to make sure it is locked in. Just to reiterate, guys, my team going into game week 19. I'm going to read it out because the graphic that we had prepared has changed quite significantly. And I think it will almost cause confusion rather than help for you. So just to read out my team. Azpilicueta, Kepa in goal for the double. Back three of Trippier, Shaw and Cancelo. I decided to sell James to bring in Luke Shaw. Midfield four of Salah, Andreas Pereira, Rashford and Martinelli. And a front three of Haaland, Darwin Núñez and Mitrovic. I ended up selling Martial to bring in Mitrovic, and I put the captaincy on Mitrovic with the vice captaincy on Haaland. Bench, Ward, White, Almiron and Patterson. So that is how the team is looking going into game week 19. I'm feeling quietly optimistic, but realistically, I know that it's been such a tough one right now in regards to planning out your teams. Fingers crossed it works out this week. Right, let's try and answer any more questions that are coming up onto the screen right now. 4th of Jan is Tony's hearing. Yes, so that could cause problems later down the line. Nigel, Bruno Fernandes. Okay, so that makes sense what I said there. James, Kepa, Robinson, Trent, Shaw, Bruno, Andreas, Mount, Sterling, Rashford, Haaland, Mitrovic, Vardy on the bench. What final tweet? If you're doing a free hit team, I would not be benching Vardy. You either start him or you just cash him out. You're picking a free hit team for basically the starting 11. You can't afford to have that kind of money on your bench. So I'll be looking to get rid of him. I would not be looking to have Vardy if you're not starting him. Again, which players would I go for? It's very, very tricky. Apologies off the top of my head, because if I'm honest, playing a free hit this week is quite, I would say, what's it called? is quite differential and against the grain, which is nothing wrong with that at all. Honestly, I love seeing things like this, but it kind of caught me off guard a little bit trying to prepare a team because I don't really know exactly. But what I will say is, which is obviously something that I'm going to get up in a minute, but I won't be able to have a graphic, is the algorithm 11 for Fantasy Football Fix. So I'm going to read that out to you now. I'm just going to get it up in front of me. Give me 2 seconds. Again, guys, the algorithm 11 is a perfect example of another great addition that we have on our site that you can check out. So let me just get it up a minute. Tell you what, let me get it. I've got it saved already, so let me get it up here. Okay, so here's some players that are predicted to score the most points based on our algorithm 11, just for you here. Apologies, I haven't got a graphic for it. Just just tight for time this week. That is all. So algorithm 11. Leno in goal, nice cheap option if you want to go down that route. But again, I think Kepa is a good pick as well. Gabriel, get yourself some Arsenal coverage in the defence if you fancy it. Trent, also Thiago Silva. But again, I like Cucurella as an option. And I think you've read your team there. You haven't got a Chelsea defender, so you could look to bring a Chelsea defender into your team. Mo Salah, again, still looking promising on our algorithm, followed by Andreas, Mount, and I agree that Sterling's good if you want to go down that route. And then Mitrovic, Haaland, and Kane. So again, Kane could be something you want to consider as well in that free hit team. Bench Foden or Martial. I think it has to be Foden, unfortunately, because I think Martial is the better fixture. I'm in a low rank. I want to captain Mount over Haaland. Is it a good move? Hashim, I don't deny it's not a good move. I'm not very bullish on the Chelsea attack, but it doesn't mean that that isn't a good move for you there. Pope or Ward? I think the answer is going to be Ward there, which is quite surprising to hear. I've just put Mount in for Foden. Hope it's worth it. Luke, I hope that does pay off for you massively, buddy. And again, thanks for tuning in quite a lot of this live stream. Who do I move on to from Kyle Walker? Yes, difficult one with Kyle Walker. The time, the kind of like his game time's a bit difficult. If you can get to someone like Luke Shaw, I think that's a brilliant move this week. Sterling or Mitrovic, captain own both. I would go Mitrovic at the 2. White or Trippier? I'm currently favouring Trippier over White. The way I'm viewing it, I think White has the better chance for a clean sheet. Trippier is just a bonus point magnet and creating so many chances. I think he's created the second most chances of all players. Marcus, start Foden or Martinelli? I think I'd probably say Martinelli right now, just because I know the game time is pretty secure as opposed to the other player in Foden. Guys, I'm just checking online to see if there's any information about the Liverpool team that can help you guys out in advance. But realistically, I don't think anything is going to be out there. No, I don't think there is anything out there, guys. Apologies for the kind of like radio silence a minute. I'm just making sure that things haven't been announced that I have missed. I'm just double checking as well to make sure that my team is locked in, because I have massive problems with knowing if my team is locked in or not. So I'm just double checking that here. And it is. So I'm pretty content with the team. Captaincy on Mitrovic, vice captaincy on Haaland. We know that already. Right, any more last minute questions, guys, please do get them in. We have 4 minutes until the deadline, so it is absolutely flying by. Bench which one of Saka, Darwin or KDB? None. You have to find a way to start all 3 of those. Honestly, could not be benching any of those players. Marcus, thanks buddy for tuning in. Hashim, great chat. Thanks a lot, Nacho. No worries at all. Lipok saying, I have Shaw, Trippier, White and Leicester defender. I forgot the name. Probably Castagne. Walker replacement. You have those players and you're looking for a Walker replacement. Then you've got Arsenal coverage. You've got Shaw. You've got Newcastle coverage. You've got Leicester for this week, which looks great. My question to you would be, do you fancy the Chelsea defence? If you do, maybe get yourself to Cucurella for 1 game week and start him. Otherwise, I would probably look to roll the transfer and not do it this week, because I think you have good enough defenders this week with Leicester, Shaw, and maybe even a Trippier to start. And then once the double game weeks get announced ahead of game week 20, you can sell Walker to somebody who has a better fixture going forward. Long-term replacement for Robertson. First and foremost, have you got Trippier? If you don't, that's an easy sideways move. If you want to stay bullish on the Leicester defence, then I like Trent Alexander-Arnold if you can afford it. James, I'm locked in with Kepa, Robinson, Trent, Shaw, Andreas, Bruno, Rashford, Mount, Sterling, Mitrovic and Vardy. Mitrovic captain, I couldn't see past Vardy. James, I really hope that does pay off for you, buddy. Hopefully Vardy can rekindle his youth and pick up a brace or a hat-trick for you, and I will definitely be following it. Make sure you do drop a comment on the video or anything, just to let me know how you got on at the end of the week, or just tune into one of the live streams later on. That'd be awesome to see how you got on, because I really do back you on that team there. Obviously, no, Haaland is a little bit scary, and I'm sweating for you, but otherwise I think it looks good. Just checking here to see if there's any news out there, guys, about anything going on. I don't think there is. That is mad there. Okay. Sterling or Haaland? Yeah, I'd probably still go Haaland, but if you want to go for the double and Sterling, I don't blame you. Lipok, I have Kepa. Hopefully that pays off. I'm going to cry if Wilson scores against Arsenal. Switch to Mitrovic. Can bet on yellow card too. Yeah, if Mitrovic says yellow, we're all going to cry together. Bench winner of Martinelli, Mount, Rashford, KDB, Andreas or Kane. Honestly, I wouldn't want to bench any of those. If I had to bench one, probably Martinelli, unfortunately. Edouard plus Walker plus Mitrovic plus Digne for a -4. Edouard and Walker. I don't mind it, but I hate -4s. So, look, I don't mind it because Walker's game time's unpredictable and so is Edouard. So, I don't mind it. Bench one of I've covered that one. Thank you so much for answering our doubts. No worries at all. Hopefully it has paid off for you guys. Guys, we have, 45 seconds until the deadline. So honestly, although I love you guys, I want you to get off this live stream right now so you can get your teams locked in. Realistically, you don't have time to ask a question and get your team locked in all in one. So because of that, I'm going to almost ban you from asking any more questions because I really think it is a little bit too risky right now to be pumping any more questions out and getting your teams locked in. I have checked my team about 1,000 times and I'm going to check it one more time just to make sure that it is locked in and I have made all my transfers that I needed to. Just to confirm my team, guys: Kepa, Trippier, Shaw, Cancelo, Salah, Andreas, Rashford, Martinelli, Mitrovic for the captaincy, Darwin and Haaland on the bench with the vice. Again, guys, thank you so much for the kind comments in here. Mount hat-trick coming versus City. That'll be unbelievable and I'll be delighted as a Chelsea fan. Sarthak, thank you so much. Thank you for tuning in, buddy. Thanks, get the likes in, folks. Thank you very much. James, I'll leave a comment in your next video or live telling you how I did. Very risky, but I thought Vardy would be better than Haaland this week. James, that's what we love. The differentials, the upside chasing, all the best on that one, James. And guys, that is going to wrap up today's live stream. I can see we have hit the deadline. If you are to refresh the app, you will see that it tells you the deadline has passed. So I think we have done all we can, guys. I think we have hit that limit now. So all that leaves me to say is thank you so much for tuning into this live stream. It's been a really enjoyable one. Yes, we had our technical problems at the start, but once we got going, it was awesome to be chatting to you guys. And of course, with these late term rounds, with the deadlines, content naturally has to be pumped out quite quickly. So I really, really thank you guys for sticking around for this live stream. Hopefully I've answered all your questions. And fingers crossed they do pay dividends and you have the positive returns. Again, hope to see you guys in the next video. Make sure if you haven't already, you hit that subscribe button just to see with future videos. I can see quite a few new faces, so it'd be great to see you in the next one. And that leaves me to say, have a great game week, have a great day, and we will see you in a future video. Of course, we have the FA Cup, so there might be a bit of a delay on the content, but that doesn't mean we won't be bringing out any videos. So make sure you do stick around for them, and I'll see you in the next video, guys. Take care. Cheers.